Hi there everyone, it's Chris and I'm going to run through some New Zealand releases on vinyl that have come out during that busy period just before Christmas, around Christmas and New Year. Releases that kind of often get lost and certainly don't make it into end of year lists and so on. What's playing now is this. It's a solo album from Michael Morley from Gate and the Dead Sea. This is him solo acoustic. I read something about this and he said he'd been fiddling around on acoustic guitar at home for many years and finally decided to release something. So it's come out under his own name on WaihekeRecords, and I think there are 300 copies of this. I had to bring it into the country online, and yeah, it's kind of tones and textures really, and quite mesmerising in places. Also kind of quite tonal and textural is this from Tiny Ruins and Hamish Kilgour. Hamish Kilgour from The Clean, playing percussion, Tiny Ruins singing, playing guitar. I think Hamish might contribute some guitar on this as well. It's fairly kind of minimal and as I say textural. It's perhaps not, the songs aren't as strong as that collaboration with Tiny Ruins and Robert Scott on his album Greenhouse, but still a nice addition to the Tiny Ruins discography. And that was out on Flying Nun. A woman who used to be on Flying Nun in the 80s, whether it was the Playthings, they were the Expendables, or under her own name is Jay Clarkson. And she's just released a new album, again of so this kind of tends towards the kind of indie folk side of things, and this is on WaihekeRecords, which is a European label releasing New Zealand, mainly Dunedin music. And first thing she's had out for quite some time. So on here she's written all the songs. We've also got cello, and yeah, she's doing it, as I say, mainly acoustic. So Jay Clarkson from Dunedin there with Spur. Also on WaihekeRecords, this is a great compilation, I Fond Kiss, which is words of Robbie Burns, the Scottish poet and who lived in the 18th century. And there's a statue of Robert Burns in the middle of Dunedin in the Octagon. So this is Dunedin musicians putting music and putting the words of Robert Burns to that music. So you've got on here people like Daryl Baser, who's got an album coming out soon on WaihekeRecords, David Mitchell from the 3Ds, Robert Scott's on here, the Kilgour brothers are on here, but also some lesser known Dunedin artists, and some of their contributions are some of the strongest. So they're a really nice compilation and great cover artwork. The front picture by David Mitchell of the 3Ds, the back painting by Robert Scott of The Clean and the Bats. A few archival releases that have come out just before Christmas. Too Much Monkey Business is Wellington R&B, how do they put it? Wild beat R&B and fuzzy pop nuggets from the HMV vaults, 1965 to 1969, and there's some really cracking stuff on here, and it sounds amazing. It absolutely sounds brilliant. Really, really great kind of beat R&B 60s stuff on there from New Zealand. What are some of the highlights? The Bitter End with the title track Too Much Monkey Business. The Breakaways were fantastic on this. Yeah, there's lots of really strong tracks on there. And also that was put out by John Baker, who also put out this, Alright in the City, which is New Zealand funk from the early 70s, and it was compiled by Grant Smithies, the music critic, who said that when he was looking for funk tracks, he found that most of them were kind of buried on heavy rock albums. So you've got people like Ticket, Farmyard, The Human Instinct, The Underdogs, who were into that kind of heavy kind of psych rock in the early 70s, but some funk elements coming through on this, making a great compilation. And not a New Zealand band, but recorded in New Zealand and also been reissued at the same time as this, Mantis, Turn On To Music, a Fijian group who came to New Zealand, played around the clubs and recorded this album very quickly. Even reissues, unofficial reissues of this album have been going for big money, you know, $80 to $100. So this is the first official reissue of this album since its original release. Glass Vaults have been putting out kind of quite ethereal and moody electronic pop for a number of years. This has kind of upped the pop part of it. This is their album Sojourn. I really like it, and I've had it for a while, but they just put up online just shortly before Christmas a limited number on coloured vinyl, I think 40. They got a bit of criticism for not putting them up right at the start, but they said actually that there'd been pressing delays, and this was kind of a gift from the pressing company to say sorry, so they had 40 on the coloured vinyl to put out. Also, I'll show you this because it also shares spectacular coloured vinyl. Cover first. Shunkin, an American woman who shifted to New Zealand from Los Angeles, moved herself to Invercargill, of all places, formed a band with New Zealanders, lived down in Invercargill for a couple of years, and while there wrote and then has recorded and released this LP, The Pink Noise. It's been released on a British album. Apparently she's moved back to the States now, but this is very much a New Zealand release, you know, developed and written and performed by New Zealanders. And I'm not sure how many copies there are of this, but I love this vinyl. Really beautiful. Pink Noise from Shunkin. It's kind of shoegazy, indie guitar pop, and yeah, I really like the album, and as I say, it looks spectacular. Seth Frightening, But We Love Our Brothers and Sisters. I'm not sure what part of the country Seth Frightening is from. I thought Wellington, but I've also read Auckland, so not sure at all. This is one for fans of freak folk and artists like Sufjan Stevens. It has that kind of that feel to it. This is on bone-coloured vinyl. Yeah, I recommend this album. It's a good one if you're into that kind of stuff. And lastly, the latest in a line of quite a few releases last year from Lamp of the Universe, which is one of the projects of Craig Williamson, who hails from the Waikato. He performs the Datura, Ark of Ascent and Lamp of the Universe. This album, From the Mystic Rays of Astrological Light, was first issued in 2006 on CD. This is its first vinyl release. It's come out, like most things, Lamp of the Universe, on the German label WaihekeRecords, who often do many different editions and versions of their releases, from black to coloured and different coloured vinyl. This one, there's 300 copies only, and it does look amazing, the vinyl on this, with the red and orange-white splatter in the middle. And probably my favourite of the Lamp of the Universe releases last year. It's all instrumental, very droney, has the kind of Indian Eastern elements to the music, which are fairly prevalent of Lamp of the Universe, but yeah, it's a good one. So those are a few things that come out, as I say, around that kind of Christmas, New Year period. Thanks for watching, as always, and if you want more info, go to facebook.com/countingthebeat.